Aloha, spooky nerds, and welcome to Talking Strange, a paranormal pop culture show with the Den of Geek Network, where we discuss the entertainment of the unexplained. As always, I am your host, Aaron Sagers, journalist, author, researcher of all things weird, and currently you can catch me on Travel Channel and Discovery Plus's Paranormal Caught on Camera. We are currently airing our 5th season on Thursdays, and we're also filming a 6th season, which is exciting. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about a show that I've really enjoyed watching, and for the past few weeks on the Epix network, it's a horror series and so much more that has been unfolding. It's called From. It was created and executive produced by John Griffin behind Crater, directed and executive produced by Jack Bender, who we know from Lost, Game of Thrones, Mr. Mercedes, executive produced by showrunner Jeff Pinkner from Fringe, Alias, Lost, and also amongst the powerhouse creative team, we have Joe and Anthony Russo of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now, the series unravels the mystery of a nightmarish town that traps all those who enter and not enter by choice, as the unwilling residents fight to keep a sense of normalcy and search for a way out. They must also survive the threats of the surrounding forest, including the terrifying creatures that come out when the sun goes down. And the ensemble cast is led by a gentleman that we know from so many projects. His name is Harold Perrineau. We know him from Oz, Romeo and Juliet, the Matrix franchise, Lost, Constantine, the Best Man movies, and the Best Man series that they're filming right now. And we are happy to have him here. Harold, thank you so much for joining, my friend.
Hey, Aaron, that was quite an introduction. Thank you, man.
Well, thank you. Thank you for doing this. So you're right now, you are filming The Best Man, the Peacock original series, right?
Right. Yeah, it's called The Best Man, the final chapters. And so it's, reunited our entire cast, me, Regina Hall, Taye Diggs, Terrence Howard, Sanaa Lathan, the whole group of us. And I had the day off today so that I can come here and talk to fine gentlemen such as yourself.
You're too kind. I obviously we're going to talk about From. We're going to talk about a lot of things, but the Best Man world, the Best Man franchise, the last movie, the Best Man Holiday, was 2013, right?
Yeah.
What is it creatively, but also from the fan perspective that that created the demand for this miniseries to bring people back 9 years later after the last movie?
I've always said that the magic is in Malcolm Lee, who wrote and directed, just really smart and funny. But I find that these characters are just characters who are so very much part of our American culture. These people who all went to college together, and they're all friends from there, and they have all really different, interesting, diverse lives, and they come together because this book that's a tell-all book, and I just find that they're really just relatable, and they each represent some friend that we all have, some friend whose mouth is too big, or some friend who has a job that's kind of questionable, or you say, I just find them really relatable characters. And I think, speaking culturally, especially for African Americans, there hadn't been so many films where they're just friends and nobody's in prison or nobody comes from, and I just think that they wind up being relatable across a spectrum of audience members. And so I think that for me, that's one of the reasons that it's really, really, really great. You could show this film anywhere and people would go oh yeah, I got a friend in college. It's just like that. You know what I mean? If you went to college or high school or something like that. Yeah.
And it feels a little bit, it doesn't work with necessarily every kind of franchise series movie, but it does feel like this is a reunion of sorts, that right. This is a group of people that you can return to a decade later. And I don't know if we're picking up and if what the story precisely is, but it feels like we can revisit with these people and still be engaged with their story a decade later.
Yeah, I think you're right. And also, everybody's gone on to do such really interesting stuff. I mean, look, Regina was just hosting the Oscars. I mean, it was, you know what I mean? So you still see us kind of around. So we're still kind of somewhere in your subconscious. And so it makes it really easy for us to reunite and for us to have this, family reunion, as it were, with the entire audience.
Was it for you personally? Well, it is. Is it personally for you a bit of a palate cleanser as far as coming from where you're having to be a little grimy? It seems like a dirtier kind of setup. Is it nice to go film something where you get to be groomed and wear nice clothes and have a wardrobe change?
You know what's really interesting? You would think that would be the thing, but I feel like the grimier, like less kempt, like I don't have to wash my face every day of Boyd Stevens. It's like really, really where I live. And so coming back to have to like cut my hair and get it groomed every day and get a new haircut feels a little like it's a lot of work, isn't it? but it is nice to come and wear like super nice clothes and like hang out with all these fabulous, beautiful people. I was on the set the other day and I was just like, I mean, this is just a good looking group of people. Like it's actually odd. It's not that I haven't worked with good looking people before, but it's just, I mean, it's like Sanaa Lathan and Nia Long. It's just, they're all so good looking. It's a lot. And so it's a lot of fun to come back to it. But I think Harold is a little more on the, like, I'm dirty. Look, let's just call it like it is. I don't watch this every day. I wish I did. My wife wishes I did. I just don't.
You know what? I think if anything, after pandemic and pandemic lockdowns, we've learned that, it's okay to, maybe hang out in your grubbies for a day, maybe a couple days, I think it's allowed.
It is. Like, because where are you going? Like, what are you doing?
Well, I'm originally from Florida, but I've lived most of my adult life in Brooklyn, in New York, and I know you're a Brooklyn kid, and so I did kind of the flip flop. I went from the sunshine to the city, whereas you've gone from the city to Hawaii and all over the place. What is it being a kid from Brooklyn that preps you to do the work on some of the genre stuff, specifically from now and looking back on Lost and even The Matrix? Obviously, it's acting. It's acting, dear boy, right? That's the old expression. But exactly. But what was it about your upbringing that you tapped into when you stepped into a role such as Boyd, Sheriff Boyd, or Michael previously?
Right. And not to get like too deep or heavy about it, but this now living in Brooklyn, like living in New York, you can hey, but that's my kids. She was leaving. You can be confronted. Is that the word to say that? Confronted with so many different possibilities when you walk out of your house that you have to become really adaptable. You know what I mean? Like you just don't know. You get on the subway, you're on the A train, and it could be a great day, it could be a terrible day. We actually don't know what's gonna come down the line. And so as my career has unfolded and the things have come my way, I've been able to be really, really adaptable. It hasn't made me sort of rigid or it hasn't made me like unaware of things that are really big and scary. It's like, oh yeah, I remember that night I was on the A train. It was 3 a.m. and there were 16 dudes and they were all staring at. That was pretty scary. That's kind of like the monsters that are here. Okay, I should go. I should leave. Yeah. You learn how to adapt, and it makes sense. It translates for me into many different areas.
There is that sense of, I think all of us have that hopefully all of us have that survival instinct, that danger sense, that spidey sense that tingles. Right. But there's something unique about the New York experience of, you can walk down one street and it's totally fine. And you walk down another street and it just starts to tingle. And you're like, I shouldn't be here.
There you go, Brooklyn boy. There you go.
I guess that translates into genre. That translates into the science. Yeah, the monsters that just suddenly the shift in the forest. And,
exactly.
And they're there.
It's like, oh, like, you know, Father Kachi can stop you and you pull your gun.
Yeah.
Because, you know, that's what you do. Like, what's up, homie?
Yeah.
And he convinces you, like, hey, you should probably, you can point it at me if you want to, but we should get out of here.
Yeah.
And you have to adapt, like, really quickly. So
I've really been enjoying From, because we do have these really right off the bat, the premiere, we start with these gruesome visuals and it gets very gory, but then there is just that creeping dread, that unsettling feeling that runs throughout.
right.
And then we have Boyd, who, it's funny, I can't necessarily relate to Boyd on certain levels. I'm not a father, but I end up liking Boyd a lot, and it's a character that could easily be so unlikable. And
Right.
even because obviously this guy is, you know, he has these understandable flashes of anger when he's dealing with the situation, but he's also keeping this town together.
Right.
For you, what was the attraction to taking on Boyd? And let's face it, entering into another genre show,
Right.
different than Lost, but there's enough similarities to it as well.
Right. Well, just like you just said so eloquently, his anger is quite tricky to deal with, and you can love him or hate him, but like you get really confused, and that for me was the really interesting thing. I really like taking on challenges because I think there are so many people in the world that really, all of us, let's be honest, we're not just one thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You like to sometimes like, oh, he's the nice guy or he's this guy, but we have so many different elements, and anybody who's willing to be like, look, this is all me. Sometimes I'm great, sometimes I'm terrible. Don't get in my way, and then we'll be happy. And if you do, I'm gonna shoot you. Like there's something really interesting about playing guys like that, and I believe that it has to do with like the passion that they have, and he's passionate about his community, about his world, about his family, his created family, and his, you know, inherited family. And he's passionate about keeping them safe, and he's passionate about making it work, and about doing it right, and about saving as many people as he can. And I think all of his instincts are to do something really, really good. Then you run into real life where people have different ideas than you, and then you feel like you have to struggle, and I think that that's something that people can, I related to it a lot, and I think that there'll be a lot of audience members who relate to it as well. And so taking the role really was also a matter of all the other characters that were there as well, and me thinking that audience members, very much like Lost, can pick and choose, like, I would be exactly how Fatima is, or nah, I'm 100% Donna. Like, I'm gonna be hard about this thing, and you know what I mean? Or I'm gonna be the artist kid that Ellis is. There's so many other characters, and I know that Jeff and Jack, they know how to tell stories like this. They know how to tell these stories really, really well. And so, like, I really trusted that those guys were gonna take this thing that kept calling horror. And it is. There's a lot of horror. But at the end of the day, we're not there for the jump scares. We're there to see, oh, what are you going to do next?
Mm-hmm.
What I know what happens next, but what are you going to do about it? And that's what I think people are coming to watch it for.
Boyd is not this natural he's not a natural sheriff, I guess. You know, we learn a little bit in episode 8. We have that arrival of him to the town, but this is a guy that's seen the worst war zones, and he's a problem solver, but not necessarily the guy that's going to stick around for years to look after a community. I guess what I'm building to is, how do you view the Boyd before, you know, episode 8, we see things unfold really badly, and the tragedy of his wife. Who is he kind of before and after? And I guess after things with his wife, are the monsters even that much of a concern, because he's already lost so much of his world?
Right. And again, this is one of the reasons I really like this character Boyd, because he's a step up guy. Like, if I don't know it, I'm gonna step up and I'm gonna figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I think before that, like, if you dedicate your life to military service, you're a person who cares about your community. You're a person who's interested in doing things. You've done things that many people wouldn't do, with the idea that you are protecting your homeland.
Mm-hmm.
May or may not be true, right? That's another kind of conversation. But I think about people who have military service, that's what they're interested in doing. And so coming to this town, he already has that kind of background. He knows how to be part of a community. He knows how to, like, put up infrastructure. And then I think he's expecting his wife more to be the leader. But then when that doesn't go the way it's supposed to go, he's like, babe, I'll do it. I'm going to step up and I'm going to get them out of here, and I'm going to get our son out of here. And I'm going to, so he's a step up guy. And I find that really commendable and admirable about him. You know, I like the character a lot. He's got a hair trigger temper, that is for sure. But he is really working the best. And even at his own, you know, we find out the Parkinson's is happening. And he's like, before this takes over, I got to do something. I step up to the next level each time. And I like that about him. I think that's a really good quality.
Let's talk a little bit about the finale, because a lot of things happen. I guess, first off, what the hell? I will say.
He said, what the hell?
I kind of feel like after Lost, I said I wasn't going to be doing this again, and getting so wrapped up in an episodic, mythology-driven show that's going to have really frustrating finale.
Right.
And now, sir,
here you are.
Damn you. So
sorry, Aaron.
so I guess where are we at the end of season 1? And we're still waiting. I'm sure it's going to happen. We're still waiting for an announcement for season 2. But this cliffhanger, where are we with Boyd's story at the end of season 1? I mean, is he just gone? Have we lost the Boyd that we know?
Yeah. So listen, I can't answer the question in real practical terms, because I don't know the answer. Mm-hmm. That's really, really true. But what I do know, when I got the job, and I asked them this question, because, you know, everybody got a lot of flack about Lost, a lot of love, a lot of praise, but a lot of like, I mean, y'all wasted 6 years of my life. And I don't actually believe that's true. I think we had 6 years of people like enjoying the story and drama and making friends and all that stuff. But that's how I thought about it. But it's a lot to carry. You know what I mean? People still now are like, what the hell at the end of Lost? I'm like, I don't know what the hell. I thought that was cool. But here's what I do know. I know that the storytellers, they also took that on. The Jeff and Jack and, you know, John, who's getting his information from them, and some of the writers who come on, Javi and folks like that, they all go like, what we can't do again is let people feel like that. Mm-hmm. Like, if we're going to do this journey, we got to make sure that they get some satisfaction, right? We have less episodes. We have 10 episodes a season. So if we come back, the storytelling is going to be short and succinct. I think in that first year, you got the first season, we got a lot of answers to a lot of questions. We got more questions, but we certainly got like, what happened to Donna? Why is Boyd so grumpy? What's the deal? Why is Pega so happy? Not Pega, Fatima so happy. Like, this is ridiculous. What's happening with the Stevens family? We got a lot of answers to many things. What the lighthouse is, who that was talking to Jim. Like, we don't have those answers. And we do want you to come back, and we do want people to come back. I think if it wraps up too neatly, it's easy to just go like, you know, I mean, and maybe I'll go back next year. But when you're like, what the hell was the light tower?
Yeah.
Who dragged you to a light tower? Like, I think people want to come back, and I think that's a cool, fun thing. And we now have, a little bit of time to talk about it.
Yeah.
We have to go back.
And let me say, like, I'm not anti-Lost finale. I'm not because I still look fondly and I love this show.
Right.
I get sort of how the sausage is made, that there were, episode orders and season, like suddenly, and then, man, like only 15 years ago, we were in a world where you would get a 26 episode order on a show as opposed to a nice tight 10 where you can tell a story.
Right.
As long as there's a game plan, like as long as we know where the thing is going.
Right. No, there is a plan. They really assured me in a different way than they assured me with Lost. I was like, there's a plan. They're like, sure.
Yeah.
There's a plan. Like this one, they were like, listen, I know you know. This with 10 episodes, this is what happens. You should know that the monsters in the first season, that's just the beginning of the trauma. I was like, okay.
When you were getting into specifically this episode, the mindset of Boyd, he's suffering from these spider bites and hallucinations, and he is now allied with this person he should not trust.
Right.
So in this moment of reveal, when we have the lighthouse, we have these final moments. Mentally, kind of where were you going as an actor? What is he thinking about Sarah? What is he thinking about this reveal? What's kind of going on in his head at these final moments of the season?
For me, there are a couple of things. He was really anti-Sarah at the beginning of the thing, at the beginning of their journey. And then he did a couple of things where he trusted her. But one of the stories that it's so subtle is what it is when Boyd is having that hard time and he pulls out his knife, because he's ready to fight, but he can't. And then she takes the knife, closes it, and says, let's go. It's subtle. It's so subtle, but it's a big deal. It's a big, like, I really am not here to hurt you. Like, I'm not crazy. Something's happening to me. And so I think as she even knows that you gotta trust me, and she pushes him into the faraway tree. Like, I think he goes there having an ally eventually. I think he starts off with an enemy, but I think he eventually gets an ally, and it takes him breaking down in his body and his mind and all this stuff, because Boyd in his full mind probably would never trust Sarah. But there has to be a breakdown, which happens in life sometimes. You don't trust a person, you go through something crazy together, and you realize, like, oh yeah, we're connected. I think that's where they are, and then something new starts, Yeah. And so, again, I don't know where Boyd is or what's happening. I am claustrophobic as but wherever he is, it does not look good. I'm not so looking forward to going back to do that again, but I know that that's where it's going to start.
It was a good shot because, as I said, the season opens with these very kind of gory visuals, which were impactful, of the mother and the daughter and the house.
You kill a kid 5 minutes in.
Oh my God!
Like, oh snap!
You're saying something about the show.
Yeah.
And then yet it ends with this psychological torment of being buried alive, of claustrophobia. Another powerful moment.
Yeah.
I don't really think, that got to me as well. That is like that disturbing thing.
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it.
I don't know. Well, I guess I'm trying to think, in your career, have you had to act in that kind of box before? You were in a pit, I guess, with in Lost, if I recall.
Yeah.
You had a couple buddies in there with
you.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't by myself. I don't think I've ever been sort of like buried alive like that, which is just, it just gives me the willies thinking about it.
Yeah.
I think this is the first time I've ever, I think it is, I'll have to think it through, but I think this is the first time I've ever done that.
Do you personally, this is a thought that just kind of came to me, and I'm going to work out the question, so bear with me. But when we see a lighthouse, is a lighthouse a beacon of hope or something to avoid? Because ultimately, when the purpose of a lighthouse is not to draw people forward, it's to keep people away, because you don't want to go near those cliffs, near that dangerous zone, because your boat, Boyd, who is so driven by boats, you go towards that lighthouse, that's what you want to avoid, because that's where the cliffs are.
Right.
So I don't know, is a lighthouse a beacon of hope, or is it the thing that you need to avoid?
I think what you're hitting on, my man, is sort of one of the central themes in From. It really is a matter of like perspective. Do you live in a town with rules, or do you live like this might be your last day on earth? For Boyd, he's like, look, I don't know where we are.
Mm-hmm.
I no longer have any idea where we are. All I got is that tower. And for Sarah, she's like you, like, yeah, lighthouses, they say go away. So you should go away. And then it is the communal deciding of how we figure this out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a central theme within the show, within our lives. How do you come together and figure out something? Because they're two really, neither point is a bad point.
Mm-hmm.
Or neither point of view. If you have no place else to go and all you see is a lighthouse, there has to be somewhere. But lighthouses they traditionally mean get away from me. Don't come over this way. This is what you should be afraid of. Don't do it. They are both true.
Mm-hmm.
And the working it out is the meat of what drama is.
Yeah. Did you like, or how did you respond to the fact that essentially the final 2 seasons, after you being very much in the thick of the community, now having this sort of solo side adventure, well, you and Boyd and Sarah being taken out of the mix, it's definitely a choice. It's a storytelling choice to take your lead out of the thick of it and send them off. Was that something that you had any concerns about, or you were all for kind of having your sort of semi-solo adventure?
Well, when they first told me about it, it was really reminiscent again of Lost. I was like, wait a minute. Is this like Michael, like he goes away and just goes away? Is that what you're saying? And this is where they reassured me, and this is why I'm going to say something to you in the audience, and I don't really know what this means. But they said like, no, he goes away. What we're gonna, and then we're on 2 different journeys, and what you'll see is that the monsters, that's the easiest part. What's about to happen, it's about to go down. Like it's really, the monsters are just the smallest first part of something so much deeper that's bigger and scarier. And so I was like, oh, hell yeah, let's go. Let's do that. Let's do that part. Yeah. So I'm really curious about what else is out. What's scarier than the monsters back in town?
Yeah, you kind of get the sense that the monsters are sort of the first level of defense, the guard dogs. And
they're pretty scary.
Yeah.
And anyway, I think just whatever's in town, they're in town with the monsters, and then a bus pulls up. Like, I don't know what the hell.
I kept thinking, I don't know, is this like this is the Harlem Globetrotters crossover episode?
Exactly the same thing I thought. Meadowlark Lemon comes out and like, hey, brother, where are we at?
Either that, or my mind also went into I love the movie Beetlejuice. We have the dead football team that's there. I'm like, this would be the good intro for these guys.
100%.
I've read that you're not actually a fan of horror. So then what kind of does scare you? Especially because within this show, within From, we're dealing with these sort of slow moving zombies / vampire type of creatures. They take on different characteristics. You've got in the finale, we're dealing with spiders. We're dealing with these phantom noises. What are the things within horror that unsettle you? What freaks you out? You said claustrophobia.
Yeah, when I say that I don't like horror, it's not because I'm not scared of it. I'm like,
Right.
I still like I watch horror. I was like, this isn't scary. It's the horror is scary, and it is always horror is always the worst people doing terrible things to other terrible people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and to me, that's scary. The thought of that is scary in and of itself. And I've said it before. It's like in my brain, in my life, I got enough. I got it. I seen it. I've been there. Terrible things happening by terrible people. Like, I got it. I'm not going to pay you money to go do a thing that it's already in my brain and I don't want it there. So
Yeah.
horror is already scary enough for me. It's like, you know what I mean? So like, I don't really like it. I don't want to add any more to it. And that's just me. Like my kid, my daughter Aurora, and horror all day for her. Horror all day. And I'm like, okay, like it's not my deal. But like those things do scare me. Like you're watching things and people get ideas like, what? If I had a chainsaw and I went a little crazy, you know, like, nah, not for me. Go away.
For me, it's I've done hard news journalism. I've seen some things that are locked into my brain that I don't like, and then I work on these shows now where I talk about the paranormal and ghost stories and spooky stuff and monsters out in the world. And I prefer these scary supernatural things because that maybe that's true, maybe that's not true. I don't know, depending on your philosophy or your perspective. But we do know humans are capable of monstrous things and we'll do it. And
right.
And that's the kind of stuff that I don't like engaging with. So I would rather deal with the slow moving vampire zombie things as opposed to the guy with the chainsaw.
Right.
Because I know there's a guy out there with a chainsaw. You know,
there's a guy out there. Exactly. And I feel like I drove to a small town and I saw that guy.
Small towns. What is it about small towns that make them so creepy?
I just feel like because in small towns nobody's watching. Like in big cities, it's like everybody's there. There's news and cameras and lights. And in small towns, they're just off somewhere. Yeah. People just doing shit. I don't know, man. It's scary to me.
It's the idea of there's places where you can just drive through. And if you go off the map, if you enter into a from zone, nobody hears from you again.
That's just that. It's just done.
Yeah.
That's a wrap.
So as a kid from Brooklyn, were there any urban legends or ghost stories or any kind of boogeymen that haunted your neighborhood, haunted your friends? Because you don't really have the creepy house at the end of the lane in Brooklyn, but there's still legends that pop up. Anything that you recall from being a kid?
There were so many. There was this. When I was younger, there was this old guy who was such a predator, and he was getting like little boys to come up to his house, and eventually they caught him and stopped that, and that was really scary. But for a long time, you couldn't get me near a golf club because there was a dude in our neighborhood who was just the toughest dude around. He walked around with this golf club all the time. And you couldn't tell if he was on your side or not on your side. And like, it would be like, you know how Pesci is in Goodfellas?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you just don't know. Like, you don't know who you're talking to. And he would start swinging that golf club and like smashing people's heads open. And like, that dude was so, like, he was just a young dude who was scary. And then eventually, somebody shot him. Like, but for a long time, like that was like, I was scared of, like, there was so many of those weird little things that would happen in Brooklyn, like back when I was growing up. It's just like, those were scary. Yeah, those things were scary. They still stick in my brain.
Are those ever stories that you think at some point from a creative standpoint that you'd like to tell or put down or present to the world?
Not those stories. Those are just like things that scare me. There certainly are. Like, again, Brooklyn, and you're living there. Brooklyn is a rich, full community. So there are also we were just saying it. We know that people can be really horrible monsters. I personally don't want to see it, but what I do want to see is people who are great and they are great things, and they may go through adversities, but like they can find their way on the other side. I'd much rather present those stories than some of the horrors that actually in my head, because they're out there. I don't need to tell a story. There are people living it. For me, I'm good. But like there are people who, you know, Obama wrote that book called The Audacity of Hope, and me being a kid from Brooklyn, the audacity to hope that I could be here talking with you, Aaron, today, you know, that's a big fucking thing. Like, excuse my language, but that's a big thing. That's, if I'm going to tell a story, that's the one I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about things that get you from where I was to here. That's more interesting for me.
It is interesting. And I think that having seen one side, and then, you know, our life experiences are different, but having gone through the one thing and then being able to tell the story once things are a little bit better. I don't know. I think that is a necessary component, especially, you know, I think it is about providing hope to other people as well, you know.
But like I was just saying, each one of those sides are true. Like the kind of creativity that goes into making horror and stuff like that. I mean, some of it is just it's mind blowing. It really is. It's like who thought up zombies? Like I don't know. And then the mythology that you can bring and talk to, like those are really great. They're just not my stories, but they are no less valid and entertaining because we live in a giant, huge world with lots of points of view. And so I just have to be kind of like clear about my point of view. And then, you know what I mean? But that is not to poo-poo anybody else's idea, because I'm here for all of it. I get it. I totally get it.
Well, we're winding down. I just want to throw a couple more questions at you. First off, I know you're working on the Best Man series right now, or miniseries. What else can you talk about that is on the docket for you? And ultimately, you did. I mean, you know, you got your start as a song and dance man. Is that something that you're going to be? We could look forward to more of. So what's ahead?
You know what? I hope, you know, I like Chris Walken. One day I get to like dance in the video or something. So hopefully one day that comes back. You know, I'm hoping that we go back to do another season of that. Right now, I have this movie that I'm in called Without Ward. And if you like interesting, quirky storytelling things, it's a really interesting story, quirky piece and it's out right now called It's Without Ward. And I don't know if it's Martin Landau's last job, but one of the last ones that, you know, the great Martin Landau. And so like that's out now. And again, it's really off the beaten path, but I still find it quite interesting. You know, I find it quite interesting. So that's going. Best Man is happening. Hopefully we go back to From. And, you know, I don't make predictions about my career anymore. It's been more than I could have ever even imagined. I've been the luckiest SOB around. And my mom is not a B. I'm just saying I've been really lucky. I don't want to get into all that anyway. But I've been pretty lucky. And so like, I don't make predictions about my career. I try to raise my kids. I do my career as we do it, you know, and I've been fortunate. I'm gonna stay true to that and believing that like my fortune is, you know, it's gonna keep going the way it's gone.
Well, that said, the final question I have for you is, look, I've got bosses. My bosses like me to get some sort of headline-y thing out of this, in addition to From. So my question is, I mentioned that Joe and Anthony Russo very much heavily involved in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. If they or someone else from the MCU said, Harold, we need to get you into an MCU movie, join the superhero leagues, are you interested in going into that? And where would you like to see?
Before they finish the sentence, I'd be like, yes, sir. And they'd be like, no, not you, your friend behind you.
Where would Harold like to be in the MCU? What kind of stories?
Let me be really honest about the MCU. Like, I like it all. There are so many great actors. I have some really close friends who are in it, and I could be in any part of it. I could be a great villain, or I could be a hero. Like I don't care. I love the storytelling. The Black Panther movie, all of the Avengers, like literally, I watched them over and over and over, and like over and over. You can't. It's stupid. And so like I really like, and I like again, the thing that they've been doing with all these movies is like taking superheroes and making them really human, really, really virtuous and really fallible. And so the drama is good, and the acting stuff is really tricky because there's a lot of green screen acting. And they're pulling it off. Like they're pulling it right off. And so all you got to do is say, hey, the MCU, yes, I'm in.
Done.
They need a first AD. Okay, yeah, I'll do that too.
I think you're safe. I think we definitely need to see you as a hero or a villain. I don't know. I would love to see. I would love to see you as a hero.
Thanks, Aaron, but I don't care. They're dope.
Well, sir, I really appreciate your time, and like I said, I've enjoyed I promised myself I would not get wrapped up in another show like this, and yet here I am, and I'm loving it, and I can't wait for some news about the next season. I'm sure that is on the way. But Harold, you're just you're a gent to talk to,
brother man. I am so glad to talk to you, and I know you said you wouldn't come, but I'm glad you're here. Just you hear from my mouth that you're here. I'm glad you're around, Aaron. Thank you.
Well, thank you, sir. And I'm going to wrap this up, and I want you to hang out for 2 seconds on the other side.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Later.
And here we are, guys. Thank you for joining. That was just such a great chat. Don't forget to subscribe, download, you know where to go, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. Also, check out this video and other videos on youtube.com/DennaGeekUS, and watch out for our Twitch live streams. Give me a follow, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Patreon, and at TalkStrangePod on Twitter. And like I said, I do the Paranormal Caught on Camera show on Discovery Plus and Travel Channel, so check out those new episodes. Until next time, my friends, be kind, stay spooky,